Hello again, everyone, and welcome back. I hope everyone's doing well. Welcome to today's webinar. As we always like to do, a special welcome to those of you who are joining for the first time. We're constantly having new people add into the folks who are watching the webinar, so it's great to have anyone watching for the first time. And for those of you who come back so frequently, thank you for taking the time to out of the day to take the time to spend with us on this topic. This is the continuation in our series of live webinars from Levin Group's Referring Doctor Success Program. You all are part of a large and growing group of dentists and team members, actually from all over the country, who have been invited to attend these webinars by a specialist in your area. This webinar is designed to support you with tools and strategies and pearls to achieve higher revenue and profit, especially in the challenging times we continue to face. Today's topic is perfect for this time of year, goal setting for 2023, goal setting for the coming year. Our presenter again is Dr. Roger Levin, and one quick reminder before he gets started is that we are recording this webinar and we'll email this out in the next few days so you have a copy of it you can watch back or share. So, as many of you know, Dr. Levin is a third-generation dentist. He followed his grandfather and his father into the practice of dentistry. He's the CEO and founder of Levin Group, a leading practice management consulting firm. He's written over 60 books and 4,000 articles and regularly presents live seminars and webinars like this one in the United States, around the world, and all over the internet as well. So Dr. Levin, I know you love goal setting. I know this is a great topic that you really enjoy speaking about, have a lot of good thinking about. So I hand it over to you to get everybody rolling.
Well, thank you, Steve, and welcome everybody. We have dentists from all over the country. Our numbers seem to be growing every month, and I'm really excited about this time of year. This time of year is just where we find out how did we do in the year? Did we accomplish our goals if we had them? How did our practices do? But this year is actually fascinating because it's so different than just a year ago. Last December, I gave this particular presentation that I'm going to give every December because I feel a responsibility to help you set your goals and understand how to set your goals for the coming year. But before we go there, notice it says under the title, especially in uncertain times. And we have had a year of uncertainty. If we think about a war in Ukraine, and we don't know where it's going, we don't know where it's going to end, we don't know what economic impact it's going to have, food impact. We have China that is making noise at times about invading Taiwan. These are, I'm not being gloom and doom, it's in the news. These are the uncertainties. We have a challenging economy right now. We have a political situation that has become, in my lifetime, very, very nasty and mean and attacking. And I'm not speaking politically, I think that's on all sides, but we're in an era of uncertainty, 24-hour cable news, and all of this creates anxiety and stress, and I think it paralyzes a lot of people. And my advice to you before you sit down to set goals this year, and I'll talk about the last 12 months in a moment, is redevelop and rekindle and reestablish your superior positive attitude. When you're setting goals, you want to be realistic, you want them to be challenging, but if you go into goal setting feeling like, wow, we live in uncertain times, well, let me help you with that. We have always lived in uncertain times. If you go back over the last 100 years or so, we had World War I, we had the Great Depression, we had World War II, we had the Korean War, we had the Vietnam War, we've had 5 recessions since 1985, we've had the Twin Towers attacked, we've had the 2008-2009 deepest recession, housing recession in history, and then we had pretty good years from about 2009 till about 2021. And that was fantastic. If there's any downside to that, and you may be thinking that I'm always looking for the downside, I'm not. I'm pretty much of what they call a rational optimist. But be that as it may, if there's any downside of really good economic times, we all start to feel like we're better than we really are. Because as I've said for years, for leadership, good economic times make us all look smarter. Things just go better, they go easier. You can do very well, sometimes not due to your own effort. And up until the end of 2021, just a year ago, things were pretty good. In fact, 2021 was a phenomenal year for dentistry. More practices set records for production than ever before. Our own client average growth in 12 months was significantly higher. And again, I'd love to take credit for that. I'd love to let my ego go wild, but I know that some of that was good economy, and 2021 was good economy plus pent-up demand plus other factors. And practices did well, and I'm glad that they did. And I'd always rather have a good economy. At the same time, then we hit 2022 and things began to change. Now, the good news is it's not gloom and doom, but we have some real issues we need to be thinking about. Staffing is a crisis. It's a crisis in hiring people. I have read easily 200 different articles on how to hire team members in a crisis. I've written a number of those articles myself, and you know, it's great. I want to do that. I want to be helpful. I want to be practical, but none of us have magic answers. There's no magic wand here. My articles mirror other articles that mirror other articles because they're only about 7 to 9 really cool, decent strategies to go out and try to hire new staff, ranging from signing bonuses to longevity bonuses to keep your staff to how you advertise to where, but there are only so many. Nobody has that magical answer, or if they did, they're not sharing it. So we have a staffing crisis. Well, that's led to staffing compensation increases. That's increasing our overhead. And here's some quick math. Levin Group data is showing that the average staffing compensation is up by about 10%. Well, if that's the case, and staffing was traditionally 25 to 27% of the general practice total overhead, then there is going to be a rise just from staffing in general practice total overhead of 2 to 4%. That's a total overhead rise. Now, when we add in inflation, supply costs, insurance, I don't know about you all, but cyber insurance going through the roof and all these other inflationary effects, plus cyber would be going up no matter what because of all the hacking. We are anticipating at Levin Group a 6 to 8% total overhead increase. And while I'm not here today to solve that, we're going to jump into goal setting in a couple minutes. I can tell you that there are only 2 ways to improve your overhead situation: lower overhead or raise production. Now, lowering overhead is good. We like it. We work on it with clients. It's important. Before this downturn in economy, we're not actually in a recession theoretically yet. Although, don't shoot the messenger. I do believe we will be, and that's how we're going to work out of this. But I'm looking at a 2 to 3 year workout, not a 6-month workout. So you're going to look at goals in terms of how do I strengthen my practice against the economy for the next 2 to 3 years. How do I just got called up on Monday to asking if I would give a webinar to a national group called How to Recession Proof Your Practice, which fortunately I have and I can do. And there I have real answers, and maybe we'll look at that in one of our upcoming webinars. But anyway, the bottom line is that you can lower overhead, but you can only lower it so much, and you can only lower it once. You can only cut an expense once. So if you've got an expense, you eliminate it, great, but you're done. You can't go any further. You can't cut what you no longer have. You can't cut your supplies down to 0. You can't cut all of that. Production has a theoretical infinite capability of increasing. It could go up 2%, 5%, 10%, 40%, theoretically 1,000%. So you want to control your overhead as you look at your goals for the next year, but you also want to make sure you hit the bigger opportunity, raising your production, even in uncertain times. And to make you feel good, in 2008 and 9, the deepest recession we've had in United States history, 75%, this part doesn't make you feel good, 75% of dental practices declined by 10% or more. The average was around 10, 11%. But 25%, this should make you feel good, grew. Why not be in the 25%? And that 25% had certain characteristics. They already had a strong practice. They already had a steady stream of referrals. Their systems were better. They were stronger. There's a saying in recessions cull out the weaker companies. In other words, if your company's already on the verge of serious problems, the recession's just going to drive it farther and faster into that hole. So I encourage each of you to use goal setting, which we're now going to talk about for next year, to really think through what do you not want to do, but what do you want to do and need to do? What must you do to make sure that your practice stays strong, especially in uncertain times? Okay, so number one, before I make an assumption that everybody loves goal setting as much as I do, Steve was right. I love goal setting. I review my goals every week. I don't mind sitting down late on Sunday afternoon after a football game and spending 20, 25 minutes looking at my business goals and my personal goals. And I suggest that you do that. You could do it on Monday. You could do it on Wednesday. But by looking at your goals once a week, it keeps you focused. And as a great professor, Dr. John Cotter from Harvard Business School, in his book Focus, talks about businesses need to be focused. If you're not focused, your achievements are more limited. So why should you set goals? Well, just by setting a goal, you exponentially increase your chances of achieving it. Now, let me dispel a few myths. I remember one of my heroes, an educator that I love, and I do love, but on this particular point, I'm a thinking person and I have opinions. I completely disagreed with him. He said, if you just write down your goals in January on a piece of paper and put it away and look at that piece of paper again at the end of December, you will achieve most of your goals. I do not agree with that. Sounds great. Makes anything that's easy sounds really good to us. We all want our lives made easy. But I think with goal setting, you can't just write them down, forget about them, and your brain somehow conjures up the answers. There was another book that was a bestseller that pardon me, I'm going to be very honest with you all, I thought was beyond stupid. And I don't use that word to be mean. I'm using the word in the Webster definition. The book was called The Secret. And if you loved it, I apologize to you. You have the right to your opinion. But the book basically said, think about what you want. And if you think about it hard enough, the universe will deliver. Well, I tried that with the recent $1.6 billion lottery. It kept not being won. So I ended up, I don't buy lottery tickets till it gets to that size. And I did spend, and when I buy 20 because it's fun and I want to be part of it too. And we know we're not going to win. We assume we're not going to win, but it's fun to be part of it and it gets you excited. And I ended up spending $80. I'm calling it my entertainment fee. That's how I rationalize it. But I kept thinking to the universe I was going to win, and it just didn't work out. Now, theoretically, I didn't think to the universe hard enough. Forget The Secret and set real goals. But when you set goals and you look at them weekly, you exponentially increase your chances of achieving them. Number two, when you set a goal, you're not just doing pie in the sky. You're not just doing fantasy. You are defining what you really want to happen and where you want to go. And I believe that most people wander through their lives, including dentists. Remember, I'm a dentist. I was 10 years full-time. I'm a third-generation dentist. I grew up in dentistry. I love dentistry. My whole life has been in dentistry, a lot of it on the consulting side. But the bottom line is that I can say to dentists, even in dentistry, we go into practice and we wander. And I've met so many dentists that call us at 15 years or 20 years, and now they're suddenly ready to define where they want to go, which is great. That's wonderful. Better late than never, better not as early than never. But if I had my choice, I would tell every dental student, once you're in practice, goals every year. Define what you want to happen and where you want to go. Because when you wander through life, it can still be an okay life, but you achieve so much less. And honestly, we're entering an era where many dentists will not have sufficient retirement funding. And I'm not talking about my age group who had the good years of dentistry, but the next generation between student loan debt and practice loan debt, or the limits of compensation working for an organization as an employee dentist, where you can have a decent lifestyle, but you're just not saving enough. And as I've said for years, it's going to get harder and harder to retire in America. Setting goals helps you achieve early, helps you achieve in a strong way. And finally, don't let the world control you. When you set goals, you make a plan and you control your own future. Now, every practice should be setting 10 goals. Why 10? Well, it could be 9, it could be 11. We could debate that. I picked 10 because, first of all, I know that when you give people assignments, if you give them a number, give me 3, 5, 10, they're much more likely to complete that assignment. But that's not the main reason here. The main reason here is if you only set 1 or 2 or 3 goals, that can be great, actually, but you're not going deep enough. So when I show you the level of goals we set, this will make sense to you. We set 10 goals because anything below 10, you're just not going deep enough. You're not thinking through it enough. Like, I don't know a lot about weight loss, but I'm going to guess that if somebody sets a goal, I'm going to lose 10 pounds. Well, that's great if you need to lose 10 pounds. That's wonderful. But there should be, maybe another goal is I'm going to join a weight loss program. I'm going to go to a gym 3 times a week. I'm going to eat a plant-based diet. I'm not trying to be a nutritionist, not my thing, but I'm trying to say, if you simply say I'll lose 10 pounds, did you go deep enough to put the rest of the story together? We also set 10 goals because anything less means you're not really thinking. If I say to any of you right now, tell me 2 goals you want to achieve in 2023, you'll have no problem doing that. But if I say, tell me 10, you're going to have to really think through it. And the other reason we set 10 goals is because I believe, and as an educator and a teacher and maybe a mentor, some of you are following these webinars every month, and it is my absolute desire and motivation to be useful and helpful and practical. And I ask myself, will this information be useful? Can the person listening to it carry it out? And will they be motivated to carry it out? So I operate from the belief that anyone I educate wants to make progress. This may sound bad, but it's not my job to motivate people to want to make progress. That may be somebody's job. I don't view that as my job. I view my job is, once you want to make progress, helping you to do it. And that's what I call moving forward. For example, Levin Group has what's called a 1-page strategic plan. I love it. I review that also every Sunday. Our whole strategic plan is on 1 page and 4 columns. And although it takes me some time to review it, it's not a complex document to look at. It's 1 page. And you can read about 1-page plans all over the internet if you're interested. They're fantastic. But I call it the moving forward plan. That's why I brought it up, because you see the words here, goals help you move forward. And I call our strategic plan, one of our key documents for each year, I call it the moving forward plan. So I love those words, moving forward. Now, include your team in goal setting. Why? Well, dentists are really smart. In fact, you're very high IQ. I was on the board of a dental school, one of the very nice dental schools, for 6 years. I saw the average type of student they were bringing in. I saw the grade point averages. I saw their backgrounds, and I can kind of guess their IQs are pretty high, like most dentists. Having said that, a dentist could sit down in their private office one afternoon and write out the 10 goals. You are smart enough to do it. You're the most motivated person, most likely, in your practice. Your lifestyle is on the line. Your savings is on the line. Your ego is on the line. And you could do this by yourself. But if you do it, and a quote that I love that I heard from a speaker at Harvard Business School is, you will be a genius with a team of helpers. You will be a genius with a team of helpers. You're the genius that set the goals, and now you have these helpers. The problem is the helpers aren't that committed. In fact, a lot of times they don't like your goals. We know that many staff members, if not most, and I understand this is not a bad thing, but when you first come back, if you've ever come back from a course as a dentist and said to the team, course was great, loved it, we're gonna make these changes, they look at you with an OMG, oh my God look in their eyes. And then they think to themselves, okay, he or she is all pumped up, just say yes, give them a week, they'll forget all about it, because we often do that. What I would rather have happen is you build a great team. And great teams raise production, great teams with longevity create great careers. When you include your team, you create buy-in. They become committed to the goals, they own some of the goals, and they want to achieve those goals with you. So people, meaning your team, who are part of a goal-setting process are simply more bought in. And rather than me harassing people, cajoling people, pushing people, reminding people, irritating people about achieving our goals, I'd rather they were bought in, and very often they'll be the ones driving that goal and driving everyone else. Why? One of my favorite words, commitment. In life, if you're committed, your chances of success are very high. Setting goals improves team building. When we all have common goals, it brings us together. That's why I love NFL. One of the reasons I love NFL football. I think football is fascinating in many, many dimensions. I've loved it my whole life. Maybe because I started going to Baltimore Colt games when we had the Baltimore Colts. I was 3 years old when I started going with my father, who would take me. And whatever it is, but I'll tell you one thing about football, it brings people together from all socio-economic educational backgrounds. You have conversations with people that are not part of your normal life. You have conversations with people that you meet once in a line and will never see again. We have this common goal of our team winning. By the way, it could be baseball or hockey. I just happen to enjoy football. And that's not a sports analogy, that's a life analogy. When you bring people together, then you improve team building. So all the fans, when I'm at a Baltimore Ravens football game with 71,000 other people, I am part of the team. There's 71,000 team members, and I'm one of those team members in a sense, because we all have this common goal of winning. Why else would I stand up and clap my hands on third down? And if you don't know what that means, ask someone who watches football. Goals also make people feel important when they're included. Asking a team member's opinion about the goal, asking them what they think, asking them what they believe is important for next year, all help create that commitment that we're after. And by the way, don't underestimate your team. They often have really, really good ideas. They see the things you don't see, and they hear the things you don't hear. Okay. Now, the future is uncertain. We live more with uncertainty than with certainty. You know, we just went through the midterm elections. Nobody knew beforehand how it was going to turn out. Nobody knew who was going to win. There were people who are very anxious about it one way or another. Forget how it came out. My point is, we don't know how it's going to come out. So the best way to control your future as a dentist is to create it. If you want to control your future, don't sit back and wait and see what happens. You create the future. And to do that, you need a plan. And to achieve the plan, you need goal setting. Goal setting is the equivalent of having a really good plan. And when I look at my goals every Sunday, it tells me I'm looking at my plan. How am I doing? Am I making progress? Am I going to get there? What's gone wrong? What uncertainty came up that is impacting one of my goals, and what am I going to do about it? Now, I've been studying goal setting for 40 years, and I can tell you without any question, with full confidence, that high achievers almost always have goals. Elon Musk has goals. Steve Jobs had goals for Apple. The top performers always have goals. Henry Ford didn't know exactly how he was going to make the Model T, but he had goals. People with goals achieve more. Across the board, they always achieve more. But if you look at studies, only about 3% of people have written goals. Now, dentists are the same. I've done surveys, and we find out that out of every 100 dentists, about 3 have written goals. And there's a story, and it may not be true, but it's still a good story, because I've heard it told about Harvard and I've heard it told about Yale, and I've never seen documentation on this. But here's how the story goes. In 1956, the graduating class of Yale University was surveyed and asked, do you have written goals? And only 3% of the class said yes. 20 years later, they resurveyed the living members of that class, and they found that the 3% with written goals had a higher combined net worth than the entire rest of the class, than the other 97%. Is it true? I don't know. But it is true that about 3% of people have written goals. If those 3% achieve more, and by the way, you may think that they're maniacs or megalomaniacs or egotists or workaholics or driven type A people. They may be, but I'll tell you one thing, people who have goals are having a lot of fun because it's fun pursuing what you want, not what the world wants, not what the world's delivering, not what the universe may never give you. It's fun pursuing what you want. So how does goal setting work? I've asked this question, so the next question I'm going to ask you so many times. Why does goal setting work? And I've asked this question literally hundreds of times in my career, and I get beautiful answers. It gets you focused. It makes you think. You know where you're going. It gets other people involved. All kinds of great answers, and they are partly correct, but they're not the main reason that goal setting works. So, what is the main reason that goal setting works? And the answer is, it opens your mind to possibilities. When you set most goals, you don't know how you're going to achieve them. At least my goals, I don't always know how I'm going to achieve them. I don't worry about how I'm going to achieve the goal. I worry about what the goal should be. Now, once I've set those goals, once you set your goals, your mind starts to work on how to achieve it. But let's face it, we're not all so brilliant that we set a goal and all the answers are already inside of our head. There is a philosophical concept that all the information we ever need is already in our brain. Well, it's not in mine, unfortunately, and I don't know the answers sometimes. But what it does do is it opens my mind to possibilities. All of a sudden, I find a book that will help me. Not magical. I go looking for books. I find articles that will help me. I ask what person could help me. What course could I take? Last year, there was something I wanted to know, so I took an online course to know more about it, a pretty in-depth course, but I wouldn't have looked for that course if I didn't have a goal around learning more about that. Now, Carol Dweck, who's a PhD psychologist and professor at Stanford University, and she is highly acclaimed in the business world for her work and her book called Mindset, which I certainly encourage anybody to read. And the book talks about open mindset versus closed mindset. And it was fascinating. It was a great humbling factor for me. I try hard to maintain humility at all times because when you don't, you stop learning, but I'm human. And you know, if you asked me, you know, are you open mindset or closed mindset, I would have told you I'm 100% open mindset. Why? Because that's what you should be. I'm a lifetime learner. Learning is one of my 4 values. I am turned on by learning. I hope to do it forever. It excites me. I go off frequently on what I call eclectic deep dives, learning a tremendous amount about something unimportant that has caught my interest. And with the internet and YouTube and all the opportunities today, you can access information instantly. So I was 100% open mindset until I took a course with Carol and then read her book and found out I'm not quite as open mindset as I thought. Fairly open mindset, but not 100% open mindset, not 90% open mindset, because I had my own biases and beliefs already ingrained, just like we all do, and I wasn't completely open mindset. The good news is, as Carol points out, if you're closed mindset in some things, you can change that and become open mindset. Why is this important? Because closed mindset people can reach a very good level of success. Closed mindset sounds bad, and it actually is, because what happens is then they peak. They might have been the best looking person or the best athlete or the funniest person or the most interesting person, or they knew what year every song was written. They could win that contest. Whatever it was, the most connected person, and it got them to a level of success. But because of their closed mindset, they stopped growing. And what you want to do is be open mindset, often getting there more slowly, But if you stay open mindset and you keep on the 20-mile march, a steady march in your life, you will continue to go and go and go and go to very high levels. Why am I telling you all this? Goal setting helps you to be more open mindset. So when Carol Dweck talks about mindset, she talks about a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. You want to be growth mindset. I hope today with this presentation, I'm helping you to be growth mindset, because growth mindset, failure is an opportunity to grow. I can learn to do anything I want. Challenges help me grow. My effort and attitude determine my abilities. Feedback is constructive. I am inspired by others. I like to try new things. Or you could be fixed mindset, which is going to limit your growth and you're going to peak and plateau way early. Failure is the limit of my abilities. I'm either good at it or I'm not. None of these are true, by the way. My abilities are unchanging. I can either do it or I can't. I don't like to be challenged. My potential is predetermined. When I'm frustrated, I give up, I stick to what I know. Well, we want you in the blue. We want you in the blue growth mindset. Now, what is a goal not? It's often good to look at the inverse of a topic, and we're going to get into how to set goals in a minute, and I'm going to give you a really good case study example. But what is a goal not? It's not an idea. So when you just think of, oh, I want to do this, 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 those aren't goals. Those are ideas. They come, they go. I love ideas, but if it doesn't turn into a goal, it's still useless. It's not a dream. In fact, I heard a sleep lecture last week. It was a webinar I attended, and at least this one sleep expert, and he is a PhD, and he's done more EEGs than almost anyone in the country. He says that dreams have nothing to do with your reality. When you wake up, if you look for meaning in the dream, it often has nothing to do with what's going on in your life. I don't know. I'm just reporting. I've heard so often you should learn from your dreams. Well, I can't remember my dreams, so I never had that opportunity. But this PhD says it's a waste of time thinking about your dreams. And a goal is not a thought. It's not this thought that comes once in a while. I call those wouldn't it be nice, but it's not a goal. What is a goal is three components. You write down what you want to achieve, you give it a deadline, and it must be measurable. If it's not measurable, it's not a goal. Without all three, it is not a goal. It is not a goal. Written, deadline, measurable are the essentials. Now, I told you we're going to set 10 goals, and I told you I would tell you how. This is where I hopefully get very practical. You want to set 3 big goals for 2023, 3 medium-sized goals, 3 smaller goals, and 1 BHAG, B-H-A-G. If you don't know what a BHAG is, it's a 1980s term coined by Jim Collins, the author of the book Good to Great, and it stands for Big, Hairy, Audacious Goal. Whenever I hear that, I think of Bigfoot from the hairy part, but it's the stretch goal. It's the big one that you really challenging that's worth pursuing. So 3 big goals, 3 medium, 3 small, 1 BHAG. So I have clients as well. My clients are for executive coaching. I take 6 dentists and I work with them. They are very successful people that want more success. That's my sweet spot. They become very good friends, but I work with them on going from what I call A to B. Where do you want to go in life and how are we going to get there? And goal setting is part of it, but it's also long-term planning, resources, behavioral change, etc. And I was talking to one of my clients last week, and he was working. All my clients start working on their 10 goals December 1st. We want them done before Christmas. And his big goals looked really good to me, but 2 of his 3 medium goals, he'd already done them. And that's when I challenged him. I said, well, you did it last year, you did it the year before, you're going to do it next year. Is it really still a goal? No. Goals should have a newness, a freshness. Those things are going to get done whether he writes them down or not, because he's already achieved that process in his practice. So goals should have also a sense of newness. And the big, hairy, audacious goal is exciting. You may not make it, but you'll be a lot closer to success than if you don't set one. All right, So how do we break it down? Our three big goals are what I call very challenging but achievable. If they're not challenging, they're not a big goal. And a big goal should also have a big impact. So it might be challenging for you to do something that doesn't have much impact on your practice. That's not a big goal. So the word big really relates to big impact, but a big goal is also going to be challenging but achievable. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a big goal. Medium goals, a little more easy to achieve, challenging, but definitely attainable. If you do not achieve your medium goals, that's on you, because you should, judgment word, but you should be able to do it. The big goals are harder. Something could come up, but unless the world changes in the wrong direction for your medium goals, you should achieve them. Your small goals, they're not even that challenging, and they're very, very doable. But sometimes we need three things that they just need to get done. And the first time I work with somebody, I often find that the small goals, they've been trying to get them done for years and they just never got it done. And within the next year, we always get it done because small goals are not that challenging. They're very possible, and I hold them to accountability. By the way, just as a tip, I end all of my executive coaching sessions by asking them the question, I meet with them every 2 weeks. In the next 2 weeks, what 1 to 3 things will you absolutely get done? And that sounds so simple, but that means that every 2 weeks they're getting 3 things done. So we're looking at about 70 or 80 things a year that get done, where they have accountability to report back to me the next time that we meet. So the whole idea of getting things done is powerful. And then we have our BHAG. We've looked at our big goals, our medium goals, our small goals, and now we have our BHAG. Very challenging, but not easily accomplished. This is the one you got to work for it. You've got to do some work. So let me share with you one of our clients, not one of mine, but one of our clients' recent 10 goals that they set for the following year. Big goals: increase production by 18%. Number 2, increase profit by 18%. Profit can often track right along with production with controlled overhead. Number 3, increase new patients by 12%. New patients are very valuable. They are 200% to 300% larger in revenue to the practice in the first 12 months than the average production of your current active patients. So in English, if you get a new patient, they're worth 2 to 3 times more than your current patient in their first 12 months. So that's a really good big goal. Medium goals: launch an oral home care product sales program. They weren't selling any products. It's not huge revenue, but it also shows caring, commitment, and involvement and conversation with your patient. Number 5, medium goal: have 90% of all hygiene patients current on x-rays and fluorides. Again, this might not sound big to you, but we estimated it for this practice to be $47,000 in additional revenue. Number 6, medium goal: reduce overhead by 3%. And we're using there are a number of strategies to reduce overhead. I've given webinars on this, and I've given you webinars on this, but we're doing this with a singular strategy. By bidding out the top 10 biddable expenses, we're going to lower overhead, total overhead by 3%, which will help offset some of that increased staffing compensation costs and inflation. Small goals: number 7, increase porcelain laminate veneer cases by 2 per month. That's a great goal. They felt it was a small goal. I estimate they can probably do 5, but it didn't make the big or medium list. It made the small goal list. Number 8, reduce no-shows by 2%. No-shows are rising right now. Many practices are up to 10% due to the economy. And if the economy gets tougher, and I suspect it will. I mean, I'm not an economist. There are a lot of theories out there, but the people I follow do believe the economy could get a little rougher. No-shows will rise. By the way, watch your no-shows side comment. As no-shows rise, that's your leading indicator that things are not going in the right direction. Tighten up your no-show program next year, please. That will be an essential. And number 9, small goal, reorganize the storage area for efficiency. It was a mess, apparently. He said to me, we keep wanting to get to it, we never do, so we made it a small goal. Now the BHAG. Why do I like the BHAG as number 10? Because if you start with a BHAG, it might not be a BHAG, and it might just be a big goal or a medium goal. But now we're able to say, all right, we've got 9 of our goals, big, medium, small. What's our BHAG? The BHAG was to reduce doctor time by 10 minutes per hour and design a new schedule with that time savings, which mathematically calculates in a 4-day-a-week practice to 32 doctor days of extra production per year. This is huge. In fact, we're talking millions of dollars over your career, not hundreds of thousands, not tens of thousands, but millions of dollars over your career. Certainly worthwhile. Now, we don't stop there. We then take these 10 goals and we put the measurement. Remember, written, we did that on the last slide. That's here. But now we have to put a measurement and a deadline. So we're going to increase production by 18% by December 31st, 23. We're going to increase profit by 18% by December 31st, 23. Increase new patients by 12% by December 31st, 23. But not everything can be or should be December 31st. Launch product sales, we're going to the measurement will be to accumulate $25,000 in sales. I think it'll be closer to 45,000 or 50,000, but conservative's fine, by December 31st, 23. X-ray, number 5, X-rays and fluoride treatment. We want 90% of patients up to date by June 30th, 23. Number 6, reduce overhead by 3%. I think that's a typo. Wait a minute. Let me go back and just take a quick look. No, it was 3%. Thank you. By January 31st, 23. Remember, we're bidding out the reductions at the end of this month. Actually, they're doing it now. 7, increase veneer cases by 2 per month. By January 31st, including the month of January, be up by 2 in veneer cases. Reduce no-shows by 2% by March 31st. Within 90 days, we know that can be done. That's a standard system with us. Number 9, reorganize the storage area. Well, how do you know you've done it? You inspect it. If it looks good, you threw a lot of junk away by December 25th, 23. They pick these dates. And number 10, reduce doctor time per hour by 10 minutes, adding 32 days of extra doctor production per year, have it in place by June 30th, 23. Now, of course, if we don't do anything till June 30th, then next year you'll only pick up 16 extra days and then 32 the following year if you follow the math. So, an example of 10 goals for 23 that we just finished. Track your progress in your monthly meeting. Every month, meet with your team in your business meeting, which you call a staff meeting, go over the goals as a group. Because there's another piece of goal setting I don't include because we only have so much time, but I like to assign a responsible party to each goal. So if you decided that selling home care products was the responsibility of Jody, the hygienist or a hygienist in the practice, then she would report on that goal at your monthly staff meeting. Monthly review of the meeting of goals inside the staff meeting and identify progress and make what's called course corrections. I love that analogy. An airplane that goes from San Francisco to Oahu, Hawaii is off course 98% of the time. And then they just keep correcting back, correcting back, correcting back. And that's what you do with goals. Sometimes you need to throw a goal out, something major changed, throw it out. Sometimes, rarely, you need to add a goal because there's such a great opportunity or necessity that takes place. But for the most part, I've given you how to manage your goals. Now, here are 4 things that can happen with goal setting. Something can change, and we call that a priority shift. Typically, a priority shift means you focus on one goal over another for now. but it could also mean adding or deleting a goal. But don't be so bought in that you refuse to budge on a goal, because that can kill you, okay? Pursuing a bad goal is a bad idea. When you create the goal, it feels good, something changes, it could hurt you, don't keep going. What's that expression? If you find yourself in a hole, stop digging. Number two, you're going to need certain outside resources for some of your goals. It could be a technical supply equipment representative. It could be a CPA. It could be, I think of us as resources to our clients. It could be an attorney. It could be a psychologist. It could be a recruiting firm. But to achieve certain goals, you need outside expert resources. All the top dentists I know have a lot of advisors. And I believe that's partly why they're top dentists. So the advisors, highly successful people surround themselves with advisors. Again, I'm not here about consulting. I'm here as an educator, but I can share experience. I talked to, it happened this week. We're having a conversation. Our VP of Consulting, Angela Pickett, is having a conference with a doctor that called a year ago. Now, for whatever reason, he wasn't ready to do consulting. He may not have been ready for a new CPA. He may not have been ready for any advisor in a certain area, but he lost a year. We've only got 36 to 40 years. I mean, think about it. If you took a glass bowl and you put 40 marbles in it, and December 31st every year you take out one, it'll start to show you gradually how much limited your time is for the rest of your career. Don't waste opportunities. And advisors do two great things. One, they help you to achieve your goals. If your advisors are not helping you achieve goals and your goals are rational, that's a bad situation. And two, they protect you. They keep you from making crucial mistakes. And number four, education. It's incredible what we can access today. You tell me what you want to know. I'll find you 50 books, 500 articles, 800 YouTube videos. It's incredible the amount of information. And frankly, most of you are smart enough to learn everything on your own. The problem is you don't have time. Why spend 10 years learning something somebody can give you in 90 days? So my final take, as always, is that the act of goal setting will significantly increase your chances of achieving them. In fact, I didn't say it at the beginning, which I usually do. I believe that goal setting is the single most powerful thing a human being can do to reach their potential. Without goals, you have no chance of reaching your potential. You may reach a certain level of success, and I hope you do, but you won't. But I also believe people want to reach their potential. That's what excites them. And if that's what's going to excite you, goals will just, it's like being on steroids for having a great life. Goals allow you to control your future. Back to that statement. The best way to have a great future is to control it. Why rely on somebody else? Why rely on the economy? Why rely on regulation? Why rely on whether insurance companies lower reimbursements? Which doesn't mean do or don't participate. It means learn how to manage it. What's the goal? Set 10 goals every year. 3 big, 3 medium, 3 small, 1 BHAG. Post them in the staff room. Include your team in goal selection to gain commitment. And always, always, always remember, goals are written, measurable, and have a deadline, or they're not a goal. And then Roger's final request of you, bequest to you, review your goals once a week. If you can get into it, they tell you a story. They keep you focused. They keep you motivated. And you can go weeks without a certain goal being addressed. That's normal. And then it pops out and it says, hey, look at me. You're not doing anything on me, because you're not going to work on 10 every week. We need to get going here, or we're not going to make the cut. Goal setting is almost magical. And I would call it magical, except it's actually just practical psychological science. So with that, what did I do? Sorry, guys. In January, on the 13th at 1 o'clock, so Friday the 13th, I don't believe in any fear of that. So we're going to have a great webinar, and it's based on a new book that's coming out by me next year called Keep your team for life. I did a lot of research. I've got a great webinar for you. We all want to keep our teams as long as possible. The longer you keep your team, the higher your production will be. We're seeing a lot of practices this year that had staffing shortages in the practice, and their production is suffering because of it. It's not the only reason, but it's definitely one of the factors. So we're going to look at Keep Your Team for Life on January 13th. It's a Tuesday, excuse me. I'm sorry, I didn't realize that. It's not a Friday. Steve should have jumped in and yelled at me. And he and I are good friends, so he gets to do that. Tuesday the 13th, not a Friday. Forget my Friday comments because we've been on Fridays at 1 o'clock. And I hope it's going to be a great program for you and one that will help you with
Levin, that actually is a typo, Dr. Levin. It is Friday. These are all on Fridays.
Oh, thank you, Steve. I was wondering when we changed it. And so everybody, let's go through this one more time. Friday, January 13th. Nothing bad will happen on Friday the 13th. Something good's going to happen. You're going to learn to keep your team for life. Steve, back to you.
And thank you, Dr. Levin. That's as long as we've got our dates straight, and that's just simply somehow that slipped onto that slide. It's Friday, January 13th, 2023. We'll be into the new year, and maybe that's a little bit of where that got in there, snuck in there on us. But 1 o'clock Eastern, we'll be live, and we'll record these as we always do in case you're not available that day on Friday, January 13th. So thank you, Dr. Levin, and thanks everybody for joining us.
Steve, I just want to wish everybody wonderful holidays and a great 2023.